Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC. Today we are at round 5 of the Superleague Championship and it is the Azerbaijan Grand Prix from Baku in the, it's that part of the world that I don't know quite whether to call it Europe or Asia, but it's kind of between the two. I'm being joined today by, well, first of all, the broadcaster for today is Szymon Frelik, who of course knows Wheel, won the Super Lights race the other day. And then, of course, Russ McIntyre, who has recovered and returned after a couple of races away. Russ, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Caitlin. I think my cold's just about clearing up, but yeah, it's great to be back. As you said, unfortunately, been away for a little while from the GPVWC sphere, but it's great to be back here in virtual Azerbaijan. Great to be back here for the Super League, and well, as always, if any of the other GPV races that we've seen across the couple of weeks we've had racing here, this is going to be absolutely mental.
Qualifying about to get underway in about 10 seconds. It's going to be a private qualifying session as with the rest of the season. So every driver will be out by themselves. They won't have to worry about getting held up in the twisty bits or getting a slipstream on the faster bits. And that makes it as fair as can be. Let me give you a quick reminder of how we've got to this stage. Last time out, Maciej Winnick launched himself into championship contention with his first ever victory in GPVWC Super League. He sits second in the championship now, 21 points behind Dan Brewer, who has been on the podium at 3 out of our 4 races so far this year. Yannick Bock had an unfortunate DNF, he still sits third. And then Thomas Harvey and Adam Maguire are 4th and 5th in the championship. Maguire is expected to gain places with every round that he does. Although, looking at the entry today, he has once again been replaced by Lewis Bickers. So for some reason, Adam Maguire, the winner of already a race earlier in the year, is not going to be racing here today. Matthias Moos is 6th in the championship, then it's Leon Bock, Stefan Rohr, Liam Duval, and Jeffrey Fournier in 10th in the championship. So those are the top 10s. And there you see the calendar. We're at Azerbaijan today. And for any drivers that don't like street circuits, I'm afraid they've got bad news, because after this, you've got Monaco as well. And then you have the kind of street circuit at Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. And then we go back to the purpose-built racing circuits for the summer. Right, Russ, we're heading on to the first flying lap of the session. Is that David Fydog we're watching, or Flo Gaia? It's one of the, it's David Fydog for Epic Racing Team. Fydog. Would you like to talk us through it?
Go on then. Well, we've just gone through the first turn, very, very fast on the approach, well over 320 kilometers an hour, so you want to be hard on the brakes there. Can't leave it too late, or there's a very fast approaching wall on your outside. Turn 2 again, quite tight, but you've got to carry some decent pace, get a late apex, and hope you don't get shoved out in the race. And a bit of time to think with this DRS zone. Then again, hard braking, a very tricky section here. Get the car as far over to the right as you can. Actually, a bit of a brush to the wall there for David. You've got to bring it across to the left. Don't take too much curb because it'll upset the car. And now back again across the right. Lots of left, right sections here. And this is much more of a quick chicane. Get the car. You've got to really work the car through that left-hander. You can't afford to straight-hander, or you're just going to sacrifice so much exit speed into that right-hander. Now the bit that everybody will hate, I suppose, the castle section, one of the narrowest piece of racetracks that you'll see. You've got to turn in, hope it sticks, believe in the best, and hug that inside wall. It's blind coming through that section. And, well, could be seeing some interesting action there, to say at least, and flat out through these left-handers in a modern Formula car. Braking down here, we've got to shift the brake bias rearwards, try not to lock the fronts, or it's a very, very quick trip into that outside wall. Then one real corner left on the track, braking in, turning in, don't take too much of the inside curve because it'll spit you out. And then coming down now, it's all flat out to the rest of the lap. You're just going to get your turning point. It's absolutely correct. So don't smash the inside wall or understeer on the marbles into the outside wall. DRS wide open as you come around this right-hander. A long and chill, a very, very long straight. Big speed center, as I said. There's the DRS open, the pit lane to the inside, so it's very obvious when people are pulling into the pit lane. And that is a very, very quick onboard lap of the Azerbaijan Baku street circuit. 140.023 there from David Fydog. That's about half a tenth of a second on the table, but there was a few little errors here and there, so still time for David to improve. Jake Dennehan, meanwhile, sliding in to P7. Mitchie Hoyer as well across the line, goes into 7, displaces Dennehan. 2 purple final sectors for Mitchie Hoyer there, as Florian Guy decides that lap isn't the one, comes in for a new set of rubber. Of course, the tyres that we're using this weekend, the softest tyres that we have available, the C5s, the C4s and the C3s, being the respective compounds, the softs, the mediums and the hards. But that's because, Baku, it's not actually that bad on tyre wear, especially for a street circuit. Again, it's mainly straight lines, so you've just got all of this to contend with. As Germano Zapala coming around that final section, getting great camera angle there. You can just see, that little back straight that you've got, it is right next to the main straight. There is some really good photos, both in sim and real life, of just photographers getting in the right place and taking photos of cars going down both ways. It's brilliant thing to watch, and it's I do like Baku. I feel like it gets a bad rep sometimes. It's in the early days, it was it being a circuit, it was definitely a bit of a crash fest. He says Quinte, all sorts of sideways coming down into what is essentially the final corner, and again very wobbly coming out of there. He's really pushing hard, but. Yeah, I know Baku gets a bad rep sometimes, but I do like it as a track. It suits me as a driver when I do get in and drive pretty slowly. I think it's good fun as well, a very technical circuit, and something that you don't often see, in Formula circuits. You get a lot of these, fans calling for, oh, we always need to be going on the classic circuits. I agree with to a degree. But I think the Baku, it does really, have its own little thing, and it's a very technical circuit, very tricky, very fast, and yet very tight. And I think there's going to be a real challenge for all these drivers out there today.
I agree, Ross. I'll get back to that in a second. First of all, I've noticed that 2 of our 4 race winners so far this season are missing today, because it's not just Adam Maguire who's missing from that VBM esports team, but also Liam Duval has once again not shown up for Scuderia Brasilia. But today, rather than being replaced by Szymon Frelik, who is in the broadcast room with us, he has been replaced by Jake Dennehan, who is currently running 4th in the Formula Sprint 1 championship, and actually won the second race last week, and as a result has been given this drive today with Scuderia Brasilia. I hope this isn't the first time that Szymon Frelik has found that out, but oh well, the qualifying session is on now, so it's a little too late. 29 cars out there. Tomasz Walk, pretty quick first sector. That's not technically a true purple. It's not fastest of anyone, although it is faster than the leader's time by about 1/10 of a second too. And it's actually not even Thomas's best first sector of the lap, because he set a really quick first sector, then came back into the pits and has now gone out again, which is why, of course, he hasn't set a personal, or hasn't set a lap time just yet. Pretty quick second sector as well. How does that compare to the leader's time? I can't exactly see, but he's definitely faster than some of the drivers who just set laps down the back of the field. And as he drags his way down to the line, I said slipstream, but of course it's private quali, so you don't get that effect from any of your opponents. He's going to cross the line and go P7, so a good first sector. Dropped off a little in the second and thirds, potentially. Here's Yannis Fulburn, very, very fast, but not quite as fast as Tomasz Walk there. He is P15 as we talk, Ross.
Well, there we are, 7 minutes and 40-odd seconds left in this qualifying session. Of course, as Caitlin said earlier, this new private qualifying that we've brought forward into the 2022 GPVWC season. And of course, as always, if you're watching along, hello and welcome. It's a pleasure to be bringing you all of the action for the GPVWC Super League. If you haven't already, please make sure that you've liked and subscribed the video or followed on Twitch or whatever service that you're watching on. Again, it really does help everybody here at GPVWC. And don't be afraid to, keep commenting along. Caitlin always keeps a keen eye on the live stream chat, and of course you can keep posting on social media as well with the hashtag GPVWC and hashtag Super League. And we'll be reading all your comments. You may have some inside information that we don't know. You may have some comments that you'd like us to read out. You may have a shout out that you want us to read out. Who knows? Of course, myself and Caitlin always enjoy your company, and we'll always be keeping an eye on always be, letting everyone know what's going on. Matthew Williams there, a purple in the first sector. for the NDR team. That is a really, really strong first sector. Oh, but he's down in the middle and a bit of a wobble as well out of the final corner. That's not going to give him the best of launches into this long main straight. You do need to get a good exit out of that essentially final corner in order to keep that momentum carrying all the way down, especially if he's got a yellow middle sector compared to a purple first. DRS wide open. Here he's praying. Oh no, he's coming in. So that lap out the window for Daniel Williams. Daniel Stepkowski as well, despite 2 green sectors. Lewis Bickers, a purple middle sector, comes to the line now and stays. It looks like he stayed in 10th. So no improvement there. Message Milnik. Oh, look at that. 2 purples for the Edge. Number 96 car comes to the line now. Goes to first, even with a yellow final sector by a 10.5 from Robin Panzer. So a great lap there. Mitchell Hoyer comes in meanwhile. And Jake Denham can't improve, it would seem. No, he does improve to 10th, but again, 2 yellow final sectors. So it would seem a few drivers just potentially overdriving the car, coming into those 2nd and 3rd sectors. Again, overdriving is something that's very, very easy to do here at Baku, because the walls just draw you in. Now, the walls are so tight here for a track that is so fast. If you get a good first sector, you gain confidence that you shouldn't really be gaining, and you start to overdrive the car, you start to clip the barriers, you start to, get a bit of a wobble on, get on the throttle too early out of the corner. And this is a track that is all about being calm and collected, being technical and just hitting your marks every single time, because you've just got to be so precise around here as Daniel Brewer heads into this very fast back section. If you get it wrong through here, again, and downhill as well, if you get it wrong in that downhill section, as Daniel Brewer does a little bit jumping over that curb, it is a very fast trip into that outside wall. Again, it's a circuit that is also very unforgiving here in Azerbaijan. There is no room for error, especially given how fast you're going. One little mistake and you're on a wall. That is it. It's as simple as that. 2 green sectors, though, for Daniel Brewer, currently 27th. He hasn't set a lap yet, though, which would explain why he is in 27th. Looking like he's going to be sliding into that top 10 at least. Comes to the line now. Target lap time. Oh no, it's 19th. It's not a good final sector. Nearly 6/10 down. So struggling down the straights potentially for Daniel Brewer, but still plenty of time to improve. Still got 4 minutes left in this session. And well, we'll have to see what's going to happen to that top 10. It's Milnek currently on the provisional pole.
Indeed, Yannick Bock, last year's winner, is out there on medium tyres, or at least was. He's in the pits currently, but he's been for a stint on mediums, currently in 12th position. Ideally, he wants to get into the top 10 on that. Otherwise, he might lose out on a little bit of track position. Here is Robin Panzer. He set a quick first lap, actually, 3rd in the session so far. And Robin's best result of the season so far has been nowhere near that. He finished 11th at the first round. So 3rd would be very promising for him. We were previously watching Dan Brewer as well, the championship leader, only down in 19th position as it stands, but I expect has some more time to be gained. Here's Matthias Moos, purple in the first sector, and that is a true purple, so keep your eye on Matthias Moos. Ironically, the 3 drivers around him in the times have all set their fastest first sectors as well, but they're nowhere near as quick as Matthias Moos. So this is a good-looking lap here. Leon Bock actually really struggling in the first sector. Matthias, now, that's not a true purple second sector, but it's still pretty good, still faster than those other 3 drivers I mentioned, Leon Bock, Tomasz Vogt, and Matthew Williams. And this could be a pole time for Tomasz Vogt. He comes across the line, and it's 5th, so it's not quite pole. He's 0.3 of a second off. Matthias Moos here is going to beat him. So Matthias Moos goes P5, just quicker than what Tomasz Vogt could do. Daniel Stepkowski, P7. There's Leon Bock abandoning his lap. A whole gaggle of them there crossing the line to set lap times at very similar points in time. Giordano Valeriano is currently last of the drivers who have set laps, and the only Musto. No, never mind. Eris Masciuli has... Sorry, no, Eris was here before. I believe Giordano may have joined in relatively late, because I didn't see him in practice. But whatever the case, he is here now, and is currently, as I said, last of the drivers who have set laps. Eris Masciuli also attempting to set a flying lap now. And once again, David Yunt still in the pits and not looking like he's going to set a quali lap. That has been the case for pretty much every round of the series for whatever reason. And he will probably start last in that stacks car. Here comes Valeriano towards the line. It's probably going to be about 20. I don't think he's going to move up with this, actually. He doesn't. He stays 27th. So not great from Valeriano just yet, but does get himself a lot closer to the rest of the pack, Ross.
Does indeed. Something that I've been noticing is a lot of drivers setting really, really good sector times in sector 1 and 2. You know, Matthias Moos, was 2 purple sectors and then, was half a second off, coming down the final section. That, again, is the nature of Baku in that it's all about setup as well. You've essentially got to take off enough downforce that, you can get down the straight fast enough. But you've also got that grip in the corners, and it's, do you take off even more so you're absolutely flying down that massive back straight, but then you're just suffering through sectors 1 and 2, frankly? Or do the opposite? Do you get absolutely swamped down the back straight, or do you, be absolutely nailing through every corner? You're so confident in the car. So it's, what do you do? Ionek right now, he's a 10th and a half up on everybody. He seems to be super, super happy, super comfortable in the car. So, whether he's got it right or it's just a track enjoys, I don't know. Jack Mayer, meanwhile, comes to the line, goes to P15 at 139.847. And although the top 4 are covered by 0.2 of a second, that gap between P1 and 2 is abnormally large for GPVWC. I mean, I know that looks like a very small gap, and it is, but in GPVWC terms, as the checkered flag comes out right about now, that is a big gap between first and second. Mionek is absolutely flying. It could be that he starts to run away in the race. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that won't happen. Again, it's GPVWC. But again, he is looking so comfortable in that car in qualifying trim. Surely the betting man would be putting their money on him right now.
Then again, Russ, it's the second longest circuit on the calendar, so the gaps do tend to look a little bigger than they actually are. In terms of percentage, this is still about the same as we would be seeing at any other circuit. Now, this is the final flying lap that a lot of these drivers will get. Williams, very quick, but his second sector time has just been beaten by Maciej Winnick, who looks as if he's going to improve his time once again. Williams coming towards the line and will move up closer to, he's going to move further up inside the top 10. Maciej Winnick's lap, though, looking like a stormer. Harvey's second sector was bad, I'm afraid to say, so Harvey may not get another attempt. It looks as if Winnick's going to be on pole here. Williams 8th. Here's Lewis Bickers. BBM not having the qualifying session that they would like. Leon Bott goes 7th. Bickers 12th. Yanis Vulban gets inside the top 10. There is Thomas Harvey. He improves, but oh my goodness, he's over 0.3 of a second off Maciej Winnick. Extremely quick lap at the end there from Maciej Winnick. He's the first driver to do this track in under 1 minute 39 seconds. Is Daniel Brewer on a lap? No, he's not. Our championship leader will be starting 21st at best. So not a great qualifying at all from Dan Brewer. And yeah, like you said, Ross, setup, crucially important here. If you have to choose between cornering and straight line speed, definitely go for the straight line speed, because that is where you're going to be able to pull the overtakes and defend from your rivals. But there's your pole sitter, Maciej Winnick, 0.3 of a second, and that is a pretty dominant gap at the end of the day. Ahead of Thomas Harvey, Robin Panzer, Stefan Ruhl, Matthias Moos, Tomasz Voch, Leon Bock, Daniel Stepkowski, Matthew Williams, and Yanis Vulban. Those top 10 will be forced to start on the soft tyre, because that's what they all qualified on. The top driver on any other tyre was in 11th place. That was Yannick Bock, although he would have been hoping to get himself inside the top 10 for that strategy to really pay off to the max. Lewis Bickers only P12 in the VBM car. Then Michi Hoyer, Jake Denahan standing in for Liam Duval. Then Chris Shepard, Jack Mayer, Jeffrey Fournier, David Feidock, Jan Dragoon, and Jan Granqvist. Jan Granqvist there, the Super Lights contender. Daniel Brewer, P21, very far down for our championship leader, over a second off the pace. Followed by Max Hammerlink, Florian Gaia, Germano Zapala, Philip Pushkit, Alessandro Quinte, Giordano Valeriano, Eros Maschili, and David Yunt in what appears to be the only stacks car today. No, sorry, Philip Pushkit is here, so I am absolutely wrong with that. But there is your grid order, Russ.
It is indeed. I think. Am I right in saying that I just saw Matthias Moose going like outside of the track at coming out of turn one right at the end there? I don't know if you saw, but there's clearly a gap in the barrier. Then there isn't an invisible wall there. So I'm convinced I saw Matthias Moose exploring the streets of Baku. There you go. Well, if you're having a rough day on track, maybe you can just go and do some shopping or something. I don't know. As we head out for our warm-up session, if you're new to R Factor 2 sim racing, this is essentially just 10 minutes for drivers. Essentially, well, some drivers like to muck about. Some drivers like to just make sure all the car's in the right place, all their equipment's working. It's a similar thing to real life, except instead of like a half an hour session to make sure that there's nothing illegal in the fuel tank, it's 10 minutes just to make sure everything's working. So you may be seeing a few accidents. I know some drivers do like to take each other out. Some teammates like to race each other a bit too hard, shall we say? But it's just a nice little breather we get before the race. You'll be seeing a lot of practice starts as well, coming down the main straight, coming out of the pit lane. As here in Baku, of course, big old 6-kilometer circuit, very, very fast. And a 51-lap race to look forward to after these 10 minutes. And, well, as you said, Caden, well, in GPVWC terms, that was a dominant performance by Milnek in the qualifying stage. But of course, it's one thing to be fast in qualifying, and then even if you're going from the pole position, it is another thing to go fast in the race. And then you got to get your strategy right, and then you got to hope that you get lucky and don't get caught up in an accident, because that's so very possible here at a street circuit like this. So there's lots of things to consider.
Absolutely. We're now going to go for a quick break, but we will be right back in time for the race. Welcome back, everyone. We are still here at Baku in Azerbaijan, getting ready for the 5th round of the GPVWC Superleague Championship on the 5th of the 5th of May. We have received news over the warm-up that Yannick Bock does indeed have a 20-place grid penalty. Thanks for pointing that out in the YouTube chat, Lee Davidson. And yeah, the reason I didn't see that is because the disciplinary announcements are being revealed in a different place to where they used to be, so I simply forgot to look there. My apologies.
Poor from you, Kevin. Poor from you.
But yes, Yannick was on a different strategy in qualifying, qualifying on the mediums, and that of course is because he knows that he's going to be starting quite a long way down the grid anyway, so he wants to run long and catch everyone out in that way, make up some positions in a different way to the usual overtakes and battles. Sorry. That's not to say that he won't still be able to do that. This is a circuit where you can very much overtake. There's only really a couple of overtaking opportunities, but they're all so close together that you get a real slipstream central around this part of the track that you're watching right now. I always think it looks like a key, this circuit, split in two halves. You've got the head of the key, and then you've got the kind of ring bit, where the ring bit is single file, sticking behind your opponent, trying not to drop back in the dirty air, and then you can pass and slipstream on the key head. And yeah, that's really what makes this track unique. It's half and half nature, which makes it so difficult to work out, because really the setup that is theoretically the fastest on paper is not what's going to win you the Grand Prix. That's what we saw in Formula Sprint 1 last week, where the TCS off cars were easily the fastest in practice. They were absolutely rapid, and then we got to the first race, and they were something like 6th after the 10th lap or whatever, because they just kept getting freight trained on the straight and then held up through the castle section and the ring of the key, where they should have been quicker. It's a bizarre one, but sometimes you do have to sacrifice a little bit of potential performance just to make sure that you're actually going to be able to hold off your opponents.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Again, it's a weird circuit here in Baku. But as you said, you just get absolutely slipstream trained. I mean, you can see some absolutely ludicrous overtakes here. Getting 3-car dive bombs. People going down the inside of 3-4 cars in one corner just because they've got this massive momentum. So it's going to be interesting to see. There are a few cars diving into the pits lane as the qualifying session comes to a close. David Fiduk there just practicing his pit entry. It is a very difficult pit entry here. Of course, you've got that awkward chicane to negotiate that you're slowing down from near 300 kilometers an hour for. It's a very fast pit lane entry that you need to get right. David Yunt testing the limits of the grip there, coming through what is essentially the penultimate corner as they heads down now in the Stax racing car. Again, very, very close to the wall. I don't think that our factor simulates air physics in the right way as in relation to walls, because obviously in real life, you'd be over against the walls as much as you possibly could around this circuit, because the air is actually thinner by the walls, so you can get a higher top speed. But I don't actually know if our factor simulates that, so I don't think that'll be a priority for most of the drivers. As the checkered flag comes out, there is David Fiduk getting a practice start down this back stretch, well, one of the two back stretches anyway, leaving some rubber and some engine smoke behind. Jamal Zapala comes to end his warm-up session, and Caitlin, well, as everyone dives into the pit lane, the checkered flag out, well, we'll be seeing the normal everyone back into the pits, then everyone onto the grid, followed by our formation lap.
So, can anyone beat Maciej Winnick today? He was fantastic in qualifying. He's got the momentum as well. You really shouldn't underestimate the mental side of racing. It's very much a mental sport. And with Maciej, he's going to have that confidence now. Coming off the back of his win, he knows that he can. And after his qualifying, he will be convinced that he will. And that is so long as he's not nervous, which could always throw a spanner in the works. So we have 51 laps ahead of us. It should be dry all the way, which honestly I'm quite pleased with, because the Super Lights race the other day was complete chaos, and it was extremely long as well, and I felt absolutely shattered by the end of it. If you haven't seen that race, it's well worth it, but you do have to give up almost an hour and a half of your time in order to watch it in its entirety, and more if you want to get the full story with qualifying as well. Today's race is going to be like that, but of course we expect it to be like that. With super lights, you expect it to only be about an hour. They're probably going to be about the same length by the end of this one. Way fewer pit stops expected today, though. Probably 2 or 3 stops from all of the competitive runners. Probably a few more stops from people further back. There are going to be a couple of incidents, most likely, because, like you said, this is a track with basically no margin for error in some places. Now, they're all lining up on the grid, so we're going to see the grid order very soon. The notable results to look out for, of course, are the struggles of the VBM esports cars, the grid penalty of Yannick Bock, and also the success of everyone that we are about to show you. Let's get the grid on the screen if we can. Okie dokie, so Maciej Winnick takes pole position coming off the back of his maiden victory. Thomas Harvey will be second in the Holland Racing Team car. Then it's Robin Panzer and reigning champion Stefan Ruhl. Mateusz Moos is P5, Tomasz Voch P6, Leon Bock P7 and Daniel Stepkowski P8, both powered by RSR cars there, inside the top 8. Matthew Williams is P9, Janis Vulban P10, then it's Lewis Bickers and Michi Hoyer. P13 in a second will be Jake Denahan stepping in for Liam Duval, Chris Shepard P14, then Jack Mayer and Jeffrey Fournier. Good qualifying from Jake there to out-qualify his more experienced and more successful teammate. David Fidok, double champion there in 17th position, followed by Jan Dragoon, Jan Grankvist, so 2 Jans, and then Daniel Brewer, championship leader, only 20th. Max Hamelink is P21, then Florian Gaia, and then the Pescara ADG car of Szymon Zapala and Philip Pushke, who is only a single-time champion. I say only, that's still pretty impressive, although David Fidok told me off after the last race for calling him a double champion, because that would put him on a level playing field with David. Alessandro Quinte is P25, P26 is Giordano Valeriano, then Aris Mascaguli, David Yunt, and that final car there, Yannick Bock, who should not be that far down on pure pace. It's just that he has a grid penalty from the last race meeting, and as a result has gone for a different strategy, different tyre compound. He will be coming from the back and trying to jump people in the pit stages, meaning the top driver on medium tyres at the start will be Lewis Bickers by the looks of things, and the top driver starting on hards will be David Fidok in P17, Ross.
It will indeed. Well, I'm sure that Yannick will be looking to get Bock to the top, and we'll just have to wait and see. One thing that you said early on at the start of the formation lap is, this is a track about confidence, and it is. It's important to be not too overconfident, though. Again, all it takes is stepping slightly out of line, missing a braking zone like by a meter, locking up, and you're in a wall. Your race is over. So this is a circuit of being precise, keeping a level head, just trusting in your own abilities in the car, and just, letting the race run its natural course. This is GPVWC. Absolutely anything can and will happen. There will be chaos of some description, especially at a track like Baku. You've just got to let the race do its own thing and hope that you come out on the better end of it.
Towards the grid we go now. I should quickly clarify, I was joking about David properly telling me off. It was a very nice chat, actually. He's an awesome guy to speak to, David Fidok, and yeah, gave me some corrections, updated me on a few things, and we just talked. Really, it was good to get to know him. Anyway, onto the grid we go. Maciej Winnick will be alongside Thomas Harvey on the front row. Thomas Harvey yet to win a race this season, but he's been up close to that, had his 3rd place at San Marino, and has been one of the fastest drivers. Maciej Winnick does have a victory, has the momentum, and here, very clearly, has the pace. Here are the lights. When they go out, it will be underway for 51 laps of racing. Go! And towards turn 1, will everyone get through cleanly? We'll already know, because there is a big crash in the background. People with their rear wings missing already. Maciej Winnick leads us into turn 1. Harvey is second, and then Panzer. Moose and Walker going to be side by side into turn 2, and there's yet more yellow flags. Max Hammerlink has become our first retirement, but there's even more cars with damage on the exit of turn 2 now, and some smoking as well. It's Winnick, Harvey, Panzer, Roll, Walk, Moose. Williams going side by side with Leon Bock, and getting that place, so goes up into 7th position now. Through turn 4 they go. And they've got to act fast, otherwise Maciej Winnick is going to get away at the front. He's already putting the hammer down. You're watching as Shepard and Grankvist go at it for P15 there. And we head out towards the castle section for the first time. Are they going to go 3 wide? That would have been brave, but a little bit silly. And it's all okay. Don't go double file into the castle. It looks as if they're going to get through that bit cleanly, at least for us.
It doesn't need Milnek from Harvey, from Panzer, your top 3. Again, it looks like we were clean through the first corners, but a few drivers at the back, not even clean away from the line. I'm not sure if someone perhaps stalled the car maybe, or just didn't move. And someone clattering into the back. Hopefully we'll find out in a few moments' time. And as Milnek comes to complete the first lap of the race, Harvey in second, Panzer in tow in third as well. Now we're about to see, as we follow Yannis Volburn around, is the, well, not the DRS train quite yet, but certainly the slipstream train. As these drivers look at that, Matthew Williams already looking to the inside of Matthias Moose, just getting all of the speed he can, almost bump drafting him down the straight as he pulls to the inside. Hard on the brakes, unfortunately. Can't get the move done, but that is just a taster of what we're going to expect over the remaining 50 laps. Just neck and neck action, cars darting this way and that way, just setting up that move into the first corner. Maybe we'll be seeing a few moves down into turn 3 as well. Again, a decently long straight down here. And then with Matthew Williams not quite close enough this time by, but again, looking back from that camera, it looked like Liam Bock was maybe lining up a move, but he decided against it. Daniel Brew as well having a look, but not close enough, just trying to put some pressure on, trying to fill the mirrors of the driver in front, Jan Grankvist. As we head through, here is a replay of the start.
Yeah, so Max Hammerlink hasn't got away there. He's been sitting on the grid, and he was run into from behind by Alessandro Quinte, who is also now out of the race. Quinte picked up heavy damage in that one and ended up smoking at the side of the road later on in the lap. There it is again. And it was an interesting one from Hammerlink because he was in first gear and revving from the start, and then went to neutral and mid-throttle, and that's not how you start a race. So whatever happened there, it's put Max Hammerlink out of this race, and Alessandro Quinte has joined him. Right, 27 cars remaining at the end of the opening lap of the race. Winnick and Harvey are the top 2, and on the next lap, the DRS will be active for the very first time, which is going to spice up this race even further. And Harvey may actually lose DRS range before we get to that zone because he's a second behind. He's going to slipstream Winnick down to turn 1. Now, obviously, the DRS hasn't been activated yet because we haven't started lap 3. The first time it should be active is from the exit of turn 2. And if Harvey doesn't have it then he's going to start to get a little worried in this race. I think he will. And actually, they both got away from Robin Panzer a little. The DRS does open on Thomas Harvey's car and not on Robin Panzer's now. So Robin's got to be careful of Stefan Roll and Tomasz Wok, as well as the rest of the train behind him. But yeah, already we've got 2 cars pulling away at the front now, and Maciej not quite able to shake off Thomas Harvey, but he was very much quicker through the key ring, I suppose, section on that last lap. And if he can do that again, he might just be able to shake off Thomas before the DRS zone.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It is still very early on into this race, so still, we haven't even had our first pit stops yet, so there's lots to consider. Maybe some drivers just trying to get through these opening laps, just let the car settle in, start to, come to life, and then they're going to start to push. That sometimes is a feature of open wheel cars. Sometimes they're just not quite turned on when you start the race. You've got to give them a few laps just to get in the zone, get everything up to temperature, even with that formation lap, as we're following Daniel Stepkowski round through and coming into this final sector now. And it is Milnek from Harvey, from Panzer, still Stefan Rolt, your reigning champion, close behind in P4 as we head on. So now we should be seeing the DRS train in its absolute full effect. Daniel Stepkowski maybe not quite close enough, judging from this, but the DRS, it is powerful. So we'll just have to wait and see, but maybe we'll be seeing some big old dive bombs. And there we see the rear wing, that letterbox flap opening on the rear. Leon Bock as well, looking to the inside, but not quite close enough. And well, some of the drivers are a lot more spread out than I thought they would be at this stage in the race already. I thought it would be still a very much almost pack racing, like NASCAR style. But there's Yannick Bock trying to make his way through, unable to do so, but up to P24 already. So a good start there for Yannick Bock, having a look to the inside, but again, unable to make the move. Sensible not to dive into there. He'll have the DRS down this back straight. Jeffrey Fournier very close to the back of Lewis Bickers as well, coming into the braking zone. So a few drivers not quite having the confidence yet to go for those moves, but they're there and they've got the pace. They just need to force their way through, create that gap and get the position.
And on this lap, Rowan Panzer has managed to get himself back into DRS range of Thomas Harvey. He had it open going down the start-finish straight. So it's 3 for the lead now, and he's actually lost the DRS from Stefan Roll behind him. So that's going well there for Robin Panzer in the Burst eSport car. They are still pretty closely packed. Of course, sometimes in the early stages you have minor incidents that spread out the field a little. The only car I really see dropping off the tail right now is David Yunt, who of course didn't set a qualifying time. But after Yunt finished the last race several laps down, he will just be hoping for a solid finish in this race. And of course, with the amount of attrition that sometimes happens at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a solid finish might be all you need for points here. Here is Panzer once again. DRS open, and Royal has it back now. So the DRS train has re-established itself at the front of this field after it looked as if we were having 2 cars getting away from the rest of the pack. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Fournier has just passed Lewis Bickers down into turn 1. That's for 12th position. And Chris Shepherd there up into P15 now, with Jack Mayer right on his tail. But yeah, the DRS train has re-established itself at the front of the field. The top driver without DRS at the minute appears to be Matthias Moos in 6th position. So the top 5 all going for the lead now. And Maciej still with the control over that win. And we still have quite a long way until the first pit stops we're expecting. Talking of pit stops, Ruben Machete saying he thinks that 2 stops will be the way to go. And yeah, I'd agree with that, Ruben. I think we're on the right lines. Ooh, was a slight mistake there from Jack Mayer. Not quite losing a position, but he got close to Dan Brewer there in P16. Moritz Kropp as well, saying the medium tyre will be very good long term, and I would agree with that as well. So even though Yannick Bock lost a lot in qualifying, this may actually be one of the tracks where you wouldn't mind doing it so much, because you can overtake here and there's a decent amount of attrition. And yes, he's probably not going to be on the podium today, but a solid point scoring finish for Yannick is still not off the cards for us.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. I'm now starting to think about the pit stops, as I always say, on board with Daniel Brewer coming down this final section. Obviously, we're on the softest tyres available here at Baku. Brewer already, oh, that's Leon Bock even pulling to the outside and getting a move done with the DRS before the braking zone even. So Leon Bock making moves up to P7. He goes in car number 27. So great stuff there from him. He'll now be setting his eyes forwards in the Evolution Motorsports car. But as I was saying, we're on the softest compounds available in GPVWC here, the C5, C4s and C3s being the soft, medium and hards respectively. So although it's not a particularly high deg circuit here at Baku, it is, we are on those soft composite tyres. If you overheat them, they're going to fall to pieces very, very quickly. So I'm now starting to think about, when a driver's going to be thinking about pit stops, especially when you've got this DRS train in here. If you take a stop and, come out in some fresh air, you could be gaining massive time. There could be massive opportunity for an undercut. Alternatively, if you come out on fresh rubber and you're caught behind somebody, and then the person behind you is now in fresh air, they could be massive overcuts there as well. So now it's kind of a will they, won't they situation. Pit stops here are not, I wouldn't say they're more crucial than other circuits, but, there's definitely more variation on what you can do with the strategy. There isn't a clear-cut strategy here in terms of when it's right to box. It is all really down to where you come out in comparison to the other cars. Unfortunately, in sim racing, you're not surrounded by teams of strategists and engineers who are predicting the exact perfect time to stop and then where you'd be coming out. So, they can pinpoint, okay, we need to stop now because we're going to come out in fresh air. It's all down to what you've planned before the race and what you feel is right. You might have an engineer in your ear, but, there's only so much they can tell. You know, you've not got an entire team behind you. You've essentially got, you know, your engineer, the team who's provided you with a setup, and yourself. That's it. You know, there's no you know 100 personnel kind of unit that's coming with you to each race. So the pit stops, there's so much available to do here. Chris Shepherd going for a dive up the inside of Lewis Bickers. Nice move, very tidy, runs very wide on the exit, almost into the wall there. That is leaving nothing on the table in terms of gap left at the end of the circuit. But Lewis Bickers, though, with the DRS, very, very close, maybe trying to fight back. On board, no, not going to be close enough. You can already tell the DRS maybe not being as powerful as some people would have predicted. Not as much speed being made down that little back section there, although it is pretty effective down the front straight. Down there, not too much. So maybe it's you gotta maybe force your way through in the twisty section, then just rely on the DRS. Well, let's carry on board with Lewis Bickers anyway, see what he can do coming into this castle section. This is what the castle section looks like with a full race trim on board. It's very, very awfully painfully sluggish. You just gotta pray you don't hit that inside wall, pray you don't hit the outside wall, turn in and pray it sticks into the right hander, and then get going again as you come through this back section. And on full fuel, this isn't a particularly fun circuit, but you know, that's the nature of the sport. You know, you've got to get the full race distance somehow. Yannis Volber, meanwhile, in P9. Mitchy Hoyer up to P10, so he's made some places there. So good progress for Mitchy Hoyer and Yannis Volber as well, and we could be seeing, Kelly, some DRS moves here as well.
Probably will, at least somewhere in the pack. Thank you, Szymon, for getting the track map sorted out after qualifying, as we watch Yannick Vorburn. It would have been interesting to see the track map in the Super Lights race the other day to see how everyone was spread out, because they really were. Yannis is going to fly past his rival in a straight line here. That was relatively straightforward. And behind him as well, that's Jeffrey Fournier passing Daniel Stepkowski up into to P11. Stepkowski not willing to take it lying down just yet, but not quite able to come back at him. And after the first 7 laps of the race, the fastest lap so far has gone the way of Tomasz Wach, getting a almost quadruple slipstream from the 4 leaders ahead of him, and not really having to worry about Matthias Moos behind him just yet in this race. Now, when you're in a train like this, you've got to be so careful not to run into the back of your opponent. Of course, you always do have to be careful, but today even more so, specifically for the reason that, number one, it's very easy to do with these 90-degree corners and heavy braking zones. And number two, you really do not want to get a grid penalty today, because next time out, we're at Monaco, and that is going to hurt.
That is surely something that's playing at the back of these drivers' minds. You know, it's, you know, do I risk it and cause an accident and then be starting from the back and just, you know, have an unscheduled test session next time at Monaco? Because you ain't getting any moves done there, no way. So that could be something, you know, maybe some drivers actually taking it cautiously, just aware of what you know, the potential dire consequences could be. On board with Thomas Wach, no longer on board with Thomas Wach. There is David Young, our last runner, who seems to be struggling out there. Unfortunately, he's lost about 20 seconds. Maybe a few mistakes coming in. Thomas Wach already pulling to the inside, but that is because I believe that Stefan Rolt maybe is coming into the pit lane. So Stefan Rolt, the first of our front runners to box. So there we go. Rolt, your reigning champion in the Edge Esports car, comes in. Let's see what he goes on to from the soft compound. 9 laps, a pretty good distance on those softs. Finding his virtual pit box, you'll be seeing the car go up into the air. The tyre compound magically changes as he locks up both the fronts. It's onto the, those are the hard tyres. Yep. So the C3s, the hard tyres for Stefan Rolt, are trying to go long in this next stint. They're not going to make the end, I don't think. Probably going to have to be a 2-stopper for Stefan Rolt. But interesting to see there. That's 48 into the wall. Was that Mitchy Hoyer going straight on as well? Yes, it was. Mitchy Hoyer having to do a 3-point turn. Fournier into the wall. I think he may have lost his front wing. So what's happened there? I think that was just a dive from Fournier that went wrong.
Yeah, I think Fournier is just about okay. Here's a replay. Mitchy Hoyer had to go down the escape road to avoid all of that. And yeah, Fournier does still have his front wing just about. May have slightly bent steering. We're on board with Mitchy Hoyer. And it was actually a move from Hoyer on Fournier as he went to the outside and braked too late. Maybe turned in, just panicked, seeing that Fournier was still there. Whatever the case, he's run right away off the road and has dropped back. Meanwhile, Vok is already really getting away from Moose. Now, they dropped back quite a few seconds from the top 3 just now. But like I said before, Vok is extremely quick at this point in the race and might be able to catch up to the top 3 again. But he's got to start reeling them in soon. Do any of these come into the pits? Maciej Winnick is in from the lead. They're all going to be in except Robin Panzer. So Panzer stays out and takes the lead. Panzer goes through. Winnick is in. Harvey is in. Vok and Moose stay out, so they are 2nd and 3rd now. Now, these drivers are going to be on quite a flexible strategy at this point in time. Both 2 stops and 3 stops are possible at this circuit. Winnick with the tightest steering angle trying to escape the pits without going into the back of the car that parked right in front of him. And he's going to come out in quite a lot of traffic, which is always the difficulty of pitting at this point in the race. It's going to be a while before he can overtake these guys. He's going to have to wait the whole of the castle section. Here is Stefan Roth, who pitted a lap ago. So both of the Air G Sports drivers going for a similar, relatively early stopping strategy and seeing what they can do with it. Right, the gap for lead now 2.8 seconds between Panzer and Guoch. But I think the pace difference between the 2 of them is less than that would suggest. And Guoch is still going pretty quickly. Of course, though, that time was partially set with heavy slipstream as well. So it might just be that he benefited from that. And that Robin Panzer has a car that's just as quick at this point in time. We really don't know, although these 2 are likely to come into the pit soon as well. As Ross has already pointed out to us, everyone is on the softest 3 compounds of tyre available today, meaning that they're not going to last particularly long, definitely not as long as the tyres at Portimao lasted. And into the pits is Robin Panzer and Tomasz Vok, and Leon Bock will temporarily take the lead of the race.
Looking at where Rolt came out in comparison to Bock, Mionek, and Harvey, he's actually lost a place in the traffic. So it looks like staying out for an extra lap was the move to go for, unless I don't know if Rolt just had a particularly weak out lap or something along those lines. Let's see where Panzer comes out in relation. So Panzer, there's Mionek now. So there they are coming around now. So Mionek gets past, but Panzer gets past Bock and Harvey. So Panzer's jumped a few places there. So Mionek stays ahead. He still has the net lead of this race, but Panzer's jumped. So it seems to be that the overcut is very much the strategy to be on in terms of singular pit stop times.
And that's Grankfist now that Winnick and Panzer have between them. Yellow flag somewhere, but the race continues. And it's Roll! So Stefan Roll, our reigning champion, is out of the race after making a very early pit stop. He was fighting his way through traffic, and I wonder if something went slightly wrong. Oh, it went very wrong. Huge crash. He was trying to pass Tomasz Vok, so that was for position. Now let's see if we can see what happened. He's going to overshoot it and go into the wall hard, and there will be no recovering that one. Here you go, and wallop.
Ooh,
race over.
That's a big accident. That's how hard it is to get an overtake right here at Baku. I mean, he would have missed his braking zone by what, a meter to 2 meters, and bang, wall gone, race fun. That just shows how crucial it is to be so precise here at Baku. This is a circuit that is all about technicality. It's all about just hitting your marks every single time, being absolutely bang on in the braking zones, in your turn-ins, where you put the throttle on. It is a very tricky circuit. Lewis, an ult from Caitlin.
Yeah, this is interesting. Sorry, Chris Shepherd coming in despite having starts on the medium tyres. Leon Bock has stayed out despite being on the soft. So Leon Bock going for an insane overcut here. But judging by what we've seen already in the race, that might actually work. It depends on whether his softs are going to go off on this lap. 8 seconds down the track from him, 2nd and 3rd at the minute, are the VBM Esports cars, with Brewer now ahead of Bickers, so they've swapped places. And out of the pits comes Chris Shepherd. Here is Thomas Harvey on Jan Grankvist, attempting to get back up with Yannick Bock. Bock's got away a little on that last lap but he's going to be bunched up again because they've got Robin Panzer. I got confused. I thought that was Winnick, but no, it is Robin Panzer, still just ahead of Yannick Bock. And then you've got 1 second up the road to Maciej Winnick. It's the top 5 cars in this race who are yet to stop. The most notable of those being Leon Bock, because he is still on those soft tyres.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see how the strategy is going to unfold over the course of this race. Because Leon Bock, he's left it very, very late for his stop. He's still going on those softs. You can see visually that they are in absolute tatters. I mean, look at those rear tyres. They are falling to absolute pieces. But he's still out there, still churning out the lap times. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him coming in over the next few laps. But is he staying out this time? He's still very middle of the road. No, he's coming in. So he's coming in this time by. I was going to say, those tyres do look absolutely done. So Bock does come in from the lead of the race. Let's say see where he is in comparison to Mionek and Panzer and his brother.
It's 3 wide on the straight, sorry. Winnick's having to go between Fidok and someone else who's coming into the pits. That was Jack Mayer. So Mayer comes in and saves Winnick a bit of a heart attack down into turn 1. Winnick passes Fidok in all of that as well. So Brewer and Vickers now lead the race, 2 VBM esports cars, which we're used to seeing, but not quite in this scenario. Now, where's Leon come out? Oh, he really has not gained from that, has he? Leon comes out behind Germano Zapala, and he would have been hoping to elevate himself right into that top 5 battle with that strategy. He's still not that far back from where he came in, so hasn't really gained or lost that much. So he passes Germano Zapala there into P11. So probably a bit of an overreaction from me there, where I saw what position he was in, because that's going to filter out to a much better looking position. But anyway, there's only really a couple of cars near the front of the order still to come in. Brewer, Bickers, Fidok, and then because Panzer's been in. So yeah, Box, I think maybe lost a place or 2. It's still pretty difficult to work out at this stage.
Yeah, so it does look like the early stops are essentially done. So now it's just kind of letting this tyre run its own course, let run its course, let this phase of the race go by. I mean, at the end of the day, all you're aiming for is to be, in the best place when the checkered flag falls. The rest of the race doesn't really matter in the grand picture. But Daniel Brewer leading from Lewis Bickers at the moment. And looks like Brewer's coming in and Bicker as well. So, oh no, Bickers is staying out. So Bickers using that slipstream and the DRS to get through. Yeah. Brewer comes in. So there's no double stack. Of course, you can't double stack in R-Factor 2. You each have your own individual pit box as Robin Panzer goes past Fidok and into P3. But Lewis Bicker says that Jake Denhan in as well for Scuderia Basilia. So, you've got kind of the last few hangers-on diving in. But overall, it's pretty much, just coming in to, have your final stop, have your final say. And that's basically it from what I can tell. This is the last few stops.
Harvey up the inside of Fidok. That's not really for position, although, I mean, it is. Gets up into 4th position there. You do have to be a little careful of double stacking, because even though you can theoretically park 2 R-Factor 2 cars side by side and have them both serviced at the same time, you do get a penalty for that. I remember a couple of teams getting some quite dramatic penalties a few years ago for that, because you used to be able to do that. Actually, it used to be perfectly legal, and then they banned it, I think, in the 2017 season, and Nordstuen lost, I think maybe lost 2nd in the Constructors' Championship that year for that in Abu Dhabi, something like that. It was a long time ago. Anyway, back to the action. Dan Brewer has come out, still way down in P17, behind Chris Shepherd, who made that really early stop on the mediums. Maciej Winnick is now going to slipstream his way past Lewis Bickers, but Bickers, of course, will be heading into the pits, we expect. So this may not matter much, although it will for Maciej, because he has DRS. So Maciej gets the DRS off of a car who he's not really fighting with. He's going to go to the outside and extend his lead to over 2 seconds from Robin Panzer. This has been a very good first few stints for Maciej Winnick so far.
Yeah, it has indeed. Milik is, he's got a healthy gap, 2 seconds, well outside of the DRS. So, yeah, it'll just be, he's just going to run his own race, I suppose. He's just kind of not quite in no man's land just yet. He's still maybe feeling a bit of pressure from Robin Panzer behind. But overall, I'm sure he's just, enjoying life to its absolute fullest out there. As you see that's Jack Mayer, getting it wrong into turn 1, being forced out wide, and he's going to lose 2 positions there to Musculi. and to Michi Hoyer on that recovery, and he's actually going to lose another one as well. Maybe no, that's him fighting back, apologies. So he manages to get back up to P20, but Michi Hoyer, hard racing, shoving his opponent out wide, and that is something you can do there. You've got that massive runoff area into the braking zone of turn 1, but then there is a very tight wall that comes up very, very fast if you do go too deep. And well, that's what's happened to Jack Mayer. They had to jam on the brakes. Lost 2 positions, managed to get one back, but he's fallen as P20, and Michi Hoyer is already streaked nearly a second ahead, so he's fallen out of the DRS zone, essentially. So nice move there by Michi Hoyer, unlucky there for Jack Mayer.
Indeed. So there is Daniel Stepkovsky on the back of Germano Zapala. 2 people with some quite interesting names that catch me up from time to time. Stepkovsky, there you go. P11, coming out the final corner, the final realistic corner. The rest of the circuit is just flat out sweepers, and it is flat out even in race conditions on full fuel and everything like that. But it's not easy flat, which is what makes it dangerous. He goes to the right hand side now and will slipstream his way past the Pescara ADG car. Jeffrey Fournier now doing a similar thing with Matthew Williams on the straight, catching up to Philip Pushke, who is yet to stop. Still some people in the top 5 yet to stop as well. David Fidok and Yannick Bock, who are pretty close on track at this point in time. And Fournier will now pass Philip Pushke up the inside, and relatively straightforward there in the second DRS zone. Only 2 DRS zones on this track. They're relatively close together, which helps really, because you can use the first one to get yourself onto the back of your opponent, and then actually make the move on the second one. Although realistically, it's the first DRS zone that is the more powerful, because it's the longer one. Philip Pushke now has 2 battling cars on his tail as well, and Philip himself yet to stop. One of the drivers still out there on the hard compounded tyre, which is what he started on. And there are the tyre compounds, very helpful there, Szymon, with Yannick seemingly the only driver on anything other than hard tyres right now. Yannick Bock still in 5th position, running late on those medium tyres, and everyone else just a sea of white-walled hard compounds right now.
Great to see that Yannick's, getting that strategy diversity in, really, promoting alternate strategies. That's what we're all about here in GPVWC, is everybody else goes onto those hard compounds for their second stint. Unless, of course, you started on the hards and you haven't stopped yet. There is Jeffrey Fournier to the outside of Germano Zapala, getting through Germano Zapala. That was quite easy. 3 wide behind me. Meanwhile, that's Chris Shepherd going through 2 cars of Williams and Pushka as well. So nice move there by Chris Shepherd. Williams getting a bit of a wobble on coming out of the first turn, but manages to keep it out of the wall. That was deep by Shepherd as well. And that's going to now open the door for Williams. Having a look to the inside, decides to push back into the slipstream on board with number 41 MDR car. And unfortunately, it came to nothing because Shepherd had the DRS of Germano Zapala in front. Again, that's just, such is the nature of Baku. You can, have a great corner exit and, really be all over the car in front. And then suddenly they get a massive slipstream and away they pull. And it's like, oh, that's a shame. Thomas Vac, meanwhile, on board, or not on board, just following him around rather into the castle section, which is, we've not seen anyone hit the wall there so far today, which, hats off to these Super League drivers, because I know sim racers do love to cause massive, massive pile-ups coming through there. So fair play, they've all been pretty clean through there. On board now with Vach coming down. This is a very tricky corner, very deceptively tricky. You've got to bump the brake bias rearwards as comfortably as you can go to knock off the fronts, but you can't, have too much that's going to make the rear unstable, or your rear's going to slide into the wall, and there's a big curb on the inside that'll just throw you off if you hit it too much. It's steeper than you realise, it's tighter than you realise. It's a great corner. Vach showing us how to navigate it beautifully, and now in the slipstream you can see him gaining and gaining and gaining with the DRS. It's going to be enough, I'm not sure, but he's getting closer still, pulling to the inside. Thomas Vach in the powered by RSR car on the brakes to the inside of Yannick Bock, and slides up. A very nice move there from Thomas Bock, moves up to P5.
And now Yannick's going to make it really easy for his teammate here. It is Leon's day, his time to shine. Now that Yannick's had that grid penalty and is still yet to make his pit stop, So Yannick gives the DRS to Leon and allows his brother and teammate to fly past on the inside line and set after that fast-moving, powered by Arisaka of Tomasz Włoch. Yannick, of course, still out there. David Fidek, of course, also still out there. He is the car just ahead of this bunch. And Maciej Winnick now has got away to about 3 seconds up in front. Well, it came down to 2.5 seconds in that last checkpoint, but it was 3 seconds briefly. And yeah, now that they've cleared the cars on the alternate strategy, they're really starting, or he's really starting to get away now. Here is Daniel Brewer up through the castle section. Ross was playing a dangerous game when he said that no one's hit the wall there yet, because, I mean, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a literal commentator's curse, but the trouble is, if you say no one's hit the wall there yet, and then someone does hit the wall there, you know you're going to be blamed for it. So yeah, Ross, you're playing a pretty dangerous game. Ross has just popped out for a drink quickly, but he will be back in due time. Up in front, David Fidok's about to be passed by Tomasz Włoch, and that's gone straight forward, jolly good. Leon Bott getting closer. We'll have a go at him in the second DRS zone. And Tomasz Włoch, once again, very fast lap times, considering all of the cars that he's having to pass. That last one he got really held up on, but before that, his laps have been stunning. Leon now is gonna... No, he's not, never mind. Okay, so Leon not quite close enough, and now he's gonna be held up for quite a while, actually. And Tomasz has got to use this advantage and start to pull away while he can. Aris Masculi is on the back of Jan Grankvist now. They both passed Philip Pushka, who pits, and off to the side of the road pulls David Fidok. And is Fidok having another green issue? He's pulling into the middle of the road now. Now Fidok's been having some really bad technical issues recently. He retired from Portugal through having his monitor freeze in front of him while he was trying to drive. And today it appears the same thing might be happening. He pulls off to the side of the road, and David Fidok, for no apparent reason, retires from this race. And yeah, he just kept steering, drove straight into the barriers on the exit of that turn. And I mean, again, I was speaking to him after Portimao, and I was asking kind of what happened, and he says R-Factor 2 just randomly decides to minimize itself sometimes, and he can't do anything about it. Has to exit out of the game, and obviously that can take him out of a race sometimes. And it's an awful lap for Epic Racing Team because Flo Gaia is now missing his front wing as well. So something's happened to both of the Epic Racing Team cars there. And I'd say race over as far as points is concerned, especially for David Fidok, although, I don't know, Flo Gaia... Oh my goodness, it was the same corner too, right where Fidok had pulled off. Gaia just locked up and nosed into the barriers. It was the lightest of nudges, and yet his front wing fell off. Yannick has now made his stop, and Russ McIntyre has returned. Russ, I'm afraid David Fidok has had some kind of screen freeze or something yet again, just as he had in Portugal. So for the second race in a row, two-time champion is out of the race through no fault of his own.
I do feel for David Fidok. He just seems to have really, really bad luck on the reliability front with all his hardware. It is a big shame, but you know that is motorsport. That is sim racing. Wow, look how close Milnek was to the wall there. That was right on the line. Well, this real life, there'd be no paint left on those right tyres whatsoever. That was ridiculous. Wow, he is flying along. No wonder he's in a class of his own so far today. But as I was saying, yeah, big shame for David Fidok. But that's motorsport. Sometimes it's a cruel mistress, and she just doesn't like you, and she just gives you all the bad luck in the world.
Fournier's out.
And, yeah, Fournier, that looks like a disconnect. He was in the middle of the road there. That's a disconnect for Jeffrey Fournier, I'm afraid, because he's just jumped into the pit lane like absolutely nothing. Big shame there for Jeffrey Fournier, but sometimes, again, as I was saying, Lady Luck isn't looking your way, and this time it's an internet disconnect for Jeffrey Fournier.
yeah, he just randomly disappeared from 9th position on the road. So 2 people with technical difficulties over the last lap through absolutely no fault of their own. There is Michi Hoyer now, slipstreaming his way past Jack Mayer, goes through into 13th position. He gains a couple of places through other people's misfortunes. And we're now 2/5 of the way through this race. Winnick still leading, followed by Panzer. The gap remaining quite steady, actually. It looked as if it was coming out initially, but now it's been pretty stable around the 2.5 second margin. Thomas Harvey still in the slipstream of Robin Panzer, still in the DRS. Tomasz Wach still running 4th with the fastest lap of the race. He's got Leon Buck on his tail, and Leon didn't lose as much time in the pits as I said that he did at the time. It seemed worse than it was. Janis Vorburn P6, then Matthias Moos, Danik Stepkowski, Chris Shepard and Dan Brewer are the top 10. It's difficult to tell if this is the net order or if anyone is out of position, because obviously we're still very early in the race. We don't know exactly what strategy people have gone for. Chris Shepard, for example, came in much earlier than we were expecting on his medium tyres, at about the same time that the soft-tyred runners were coming into the pits. So whether Dan Brewer is really racing him for position or not right now really depends on what goes on for the rest of this race. Dan about to get the DRS, and Vok has been passed in a straight line. So Leon Buck, who has been gaining for lap after lap, has now got up into 4th position ahead of Tomasz Wach. And Dan Brewer might be about to demonstrate exactly how he did it. Up the inside he goes. Easy peasy lemon squeezy into turn 1. The easiest overtakes to make are the ones where you're much, much faster than your opponents in a straight line. Whoa! And off the road and into the barriers. And that looks to have been Michi Hoyer. So Hoyer has hit his front and rear, and he's out of the race on the spot.
Yeah, that's again, overdriving the car there for Michi Hoyer. Big shame, but I'm not sure if there was contact with someone or if he just got it wrong. But into that inside wall at turn 1, and bang, out you go again, just showing how easy it is to make a mistake around here at Baku and just have all your hopes and dreams shattered in an instant. You know, hours of work and practice, and it's just discussing setups with the teams, just gone, and that is a big shame. And Zapala's gone as well. So suddenly they're all dropping like absolute flies, Caitlin. I'm not sure what's happened to Zapala, but he's gone as well. Here's a replay.
Zapala appears to have had a shunt on the way into the pit lane. He's locked up his tyres in the little chicane that comes before the pit entry line. There you go. You see the front wing flying, and he's decided to call it a day. So Zapala there with a mistake, and an embarrassing one too. Although he's not the only person to do that. In the Super Lights race, Jukka-Pekka Lalu did that while leading and ended up losing the race, partly as a result of that. And yeah, the pit lane here is a notoriously difficult one with the chicane, and then the wall kind of comes out a bit, and yeah, I don't think it's the safest, especially in real life. Here is Thomas Harvey on the back of Robin Panzer. Panzer jumped him in the pit stages earlier on, and now they are set to do battle for second in the race. Panzer once again 3 seconds behind Winnick now, 3.5 seconds through that last checkpoint, so Winnick once again does gain. I think Panzer's had a bad couple of sectors there, because not only is he losing time to one driver, he's also being caught by another, and they still have a lot of time to Leon Buck behind them. But these two, like I said, set to do battle, as there's Matthew Williams and Chris Shepard, Ross. And Russ, are you there? Okay, I think Russ is going for another break or something. That's okay. Matthew Williams on the back of Chris Shepard. Bring Lewis Bickers.
I don't know if you can hear me, Caitlin. My internet thing is kind of offing itself.
Oh, that was. Do you hear me now, Russ?
I think.
Oh, it's one of those days, is it? I understand.
It's been one of those. All right, you're back now. It's been one of those days. My internet was on. It was on 0 Wi-Fi bars earlier, so that's all you need to know, really. But I am back now. I think it's temperamental at best. I'll say that, Mark. Anyway, on board with Matthew Williams, as you were saying, Galen, in P11, following Shepard, and well, who'll be hoping for a DRS overtake into turn 1.
and is... Oh, they're onto the straight now. Sorry, I was watching Panzer and Harvey, who have stayed in the same order. They're in another DRS zone now, but it doesn't look as if there's going to be any swap this lap, so you don't have to worry. Williams now is... He's got a distant toe from Shepherd there, but not enough of one. Gets slightly on the curb. You have to be careful about that. Sometimes it can cause the car to slide, like what happened with Mitchie. There was no contact for Hoyt. He just slid straight off into the wall. It's one of those frustrating saves that you can feel coming from a mile off and yet somehow can't save. And here's Lewis Bickers now on the outside. And that was Williams seeing him coming and defending. And now look at that. That's quite an ambitious one. Up the inside of Chris Shepherd into a corner that isn't normally an overtaking opportunity. And that's put him under pressure from Lewis Bickers, who gets through. So Williams there bites off a little more than he can chew. Almost halfway through this race now. God, we really are going to be... This race, it really is going to be about as long as the Superlights race was the other day, showing you just how long that race was, with all of its many, many pit stops and changeable weather conditions and accidents, etc. I'm not sure there was a driver on the grid that day who didn't have a spin, but luckily today it's been a little more straightforward. We have had a couple of incidents, and as I say that, a yellow flag pops up on screen, and it appears to be David Yunt, who's been off and down an escape road. He's now missing his front wing. Oh, and a big switch, big save from David Shepherd there. Chris Shepherd, I don't know why I called him David. Big twitch, and I mean, he's survived it, but wow. Lewis Bickers now with the run. That was very reminiscent of an accident we saw in FS1. Someone lost it and then the other driver had absolutely nowhere to go. Ross has now disconnected, so obviously his internet having an absolute nightmare. Even more of a nightmare than David Yunt's just had. He's hit the wall at turn 1, that's why he's missing his front wing this time around. Still worth continuing though. Azerbaijan, you never know when the real attrition's going to kick in. Sometimes you get heavy numbers of brake failures towards the end of Grand Prix at Azerbaijan. Not that that's what we're hoping for, but it would bring some extra tension into the mix. Now we're expecting at least one more pit window in this race. A lot of these drivers pitted roughly 10 or so laps in, although they have gone onto the hard tyre rather than the medium, which does indicate that they're trying to go for a while. And it was at that moment when the first 2 or 3 cars came in and switched to hards that I realised this will probably be a 2-stop race rather than a 3-stop race. Then again, oh, and look at Thomas Harvey very close here to Robin Panzer. What I was going to say was, then again, people have been surprising us with their strategies all the way through the season, so it's no guarantee that anyone's actually going to stop again at all. Second DRS zone now for Thomas Harvey. Let's see how close he can get to the back of Robin Panzer now. With all of these 90-degree corners and heavy braking zones, there are opportunities to surprise your opponent all over the place here. You need to be really brave to do it anywhere other than the braking zones. But you can, theoretically. Matthew Williams now up into P11, and Russ has joined us back. Welcome back, Russ.
I'm hoping I'm back. I mean, I responded to the GPVWC Twitter account after they made a joke about my connection, and literally just as I hit send on the tweet, the entire thing died. So talk about ironic, but I'm hoping I'm back now. Matthew Williams, nice little move up the inside there on offensive. I'm not quite sure there was something going on with the Shepherd behind, but it was nice anyway from Matthew Williams. Okay, let's take a breather, right? We're back in the booth, on board with Yannick Bock now chasing down this front duo that he's got in front of them that's keeping him out of that top 10. Although Williams is only in P11, he's got a bit of a gap ahead of him too. Lewis Bickers, who you might just be able to see as they head onto a straight that's come out. Oh, was that? I think that may have been Shepherd actually just glancing the inside wall there with his left rear tyre, because the car just jerks slightly to the left So I think just an ever so slight tap to the inside wall, hopefully no damage. It is easy to do. Of course, these cars, they're a lot wider than most drivers anticipate. But yeah, that interesting there. I mean, that's not the line, I'll tell you that much. You kind of want to be avoiding the wall at all costs. But yeah, hopefully it's all okay. Bit of a wobble there as well. He has lost a lot of time as well to Matthew Williams. So already problems for Shepherd. Maybe there is a bit of damage, I'm not sure, because look at that, the gap visually is a lot bigger, and now he's going to be under attack from Yannick Bock, who should have the DRS and will have the DRS. Got to open wide, and we're going to be pulling to the inside, and going straight through is the German, and that is the easiest move that you will see on the brakes into turn 1. But yeah, I'm not sure if that was a problem with the car. Knock of confidence there for Shepherd, but there was definitely a touch to the inside wall of the castle section, and it's led to him to losing a position.
Jan Grangfist has just DNF'd. He's pulled off into an escape road and escaped back to the pits. So I'm afraid we now only have 21 cars remaining in this race. This is what I was talking about. The Azerbaijan attrition rate is pretty high. Even though it's not as high as it was in the Superlights race the other day, it is still quite something to behold. Now, I feel really sorry for Jeffrey Fournier, not Jeffrey Fournier. Well, yes, I do feel sorry for Jeffrey Fournier because he's out of the race, but I was going to say David Feidock and also Lee Davidson. Lee, who runs the Epic Racing team, posting in the YouTube chat, same as Portugal, we thought we had it fixed, evidently not. So obviously they've been working on it and to no avail. And whatever the issue is for David Feidock, because clearly he doesn't know, and Lee Davidson doesn't know either, it's now cost him two promising races in a row. Portimao especially was looking very promising. He was one of the fastest cars on track at the time of his DNF. But here, out of the race too. And yeah, like I said, Jeffrey Fournier, one of the most popular drivers in GPVWC, has Mr. Coffolino mourning for his race in the YouTube chat. Here is Yannick Bock now, going through on Matthew Williams, and gets it there up into P11 he goes. So Yannick gains another spot, and in his quest to climb up the field, he's getting closer and closer to the top 10, which would be a decent result for Yannick. About where we'd expect him to finish in a race like this, to be honest. We know how good Yannick is.
Well, I mean, Yannick Bock, he's one of the shining stars of the GPVWC field, isn't he? I mean, to be fair, all of these guys in the Super League are, but he's always a name that sticks out for some reason or another every single race. And well, again, we're seeing a great drive here from him up to P11, looking to set his eyes forward. He's got a 3-second gap to Bickers in front. You can just see there at the end of the straight. And I'm sure that Yannick will be making sweet work of that. Again, a very, very quick driver is the young German. That being said, though, lap 28 of 51 here at Baku, and it is Mionek that is just in an absolute class of his own up the front. Panzer and Harvey still maintaining those P2 and 3 positions, although they have swapped places. And, well, I mean, there's not really much else to say, is it? It's now just kind of waiting for these tyres to live their life, go through this phase, and then back onto what I'll assume will be the mediums or the softs to end the race, and then it'll all get a bit hectic. Once again, I'm sure, but Yannick Bock now he's got a bit of breathing space, bit of air to cool the tyres, cool his mind, and just focus ahead and focus on catching up to the back of Bickers in the top 10.
So we're now over halfway into this race, and still Panzer and Harvey appears to be the closest and most prominent battle in this race. I've been watching them closely to make sure that we don't miss anything. Chris Shepherd came into the pits on that last lap. He was missing his front wing. I had to look back at what happened, and that was due to, as Matthew Williams pits, it was due to another big twitch like the one he had in the S's, although this time he wasn't able to save it, and it was at the top of the hill, which of course is a place with no margin for error. So he lost his wing and was forced into the pit lane. Matthew Williams, I think a much more regular pit there. I think he still had his wings and all attached, and yeah, comes out again to start the last stint of his race on a new set of hard tyres. And I've just got a Discord message from David Feidock. He said he tried reinstalling everything, even ran in windowed mode. Same issue as Imola and Portugal, crashed the desktop and he can't get back in. And yeah, that has got to be absolutely gutting, especially considering he doesn't know what the problem is actually being caused by. And I can say from experience that that is the worst kind of problem to have as a sim racer, and it can curtail. I mean, problems like that can curtail your challenges in any series for months. Robin Panzer into the pits from second place, so Harvey is now without his drafting buddy, but also without any restraint in front of him. He's got no one holding him back, so Thomas Harvey is free to push and see if he can get that 6-second gap back to match him winning.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you say it's difficult to have problems as a sim racer. I mean, being a sim racer is the first problem, really, isn't it? But moving on anyway, as Panzer comes out of the pits, P8 on those hard compounds. Should be taking him to the end, I think. If he gets he can get a good stint out of those. He can get to another. Yeah, those will be going to the end from Robin Panzer. Stepkowski. Is that the mediums? I can't quite tell. No, it is the hards. Couldn't quite tell from there.
So yeah, from here you can get to the end on hards. So I think the drivers have a choice now. They can either pit here and go to the end on hards, which is 100% doable, or they can try to hold on for a bit and then go to the end on a softer set. But harder tires seem to be preferable in GPVWC so far this season. It was the hards that were really, really good at Portimao, and also people running ages on the hards in some of the earlier races in the championship as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the majority of these drivers going to the end, and only the really desperate ones trying to stay out later and change for softer tires. But like I said, we've been surprised by strategy before, especially at this point in the race. Thomas Harvey pits, and this is an important one. Where will he come out in relation to the driver he was just racing, Robin Panzer?
Yeah, there's Mionek into the box. So Bock takes the lead of the race. And Mionek onto the hard. So it looks like it's going to be a two-stopper onto the hards for everyone, unless someone's maybe willing to take a gamble and go soft. Try and push, but it seems to be, as you say, Caitlin, the hard tyre, the preferred tyre this year.
And Panzer has got Harvey now, so Panzer comes out ahead of Harvey, and there's a car between them, Dan Brewer, who is yet to make his second stop. So Robin Panzer there has maintained his gap and gained, actually, he's gained a couple of tenths of a second to Thomas Harvey, and Maciej Winnick still leads by 3 seconds, actually. That's a smaller gap than it was. I believe Robin Panzer is the big gainer from that little section of pit stops there, Ross.
Hey, also fair play to Robin Panzer, using that strategy to boost himself forwards, get himself up the order, and then, well, now 20-odd laps to get to the end. Not far to Mionek in front as well. Bock, of course, needs to pit from the lead. Brewer isn't far behind, that being said, but yeah, Robin Panzer is sitting in a very, very nice position right now. Very clever strategy, of course. He's carrying that, the team's chances after Michi Hoyer's DNF. So, well, let's see what Robin Panzer can do. A lot of weight on his shoulders, but a good strategy and some solid running towards in this race. They could really pay off well. But Thomas Harvey, I'm sure him and Daniel Brewer, they're not going to take no for an answer. If they can stop battling themselves and focus forward, they could really be putting some pressure on. But if they're battling each other for P4, net P3, well, they're going to be losing time, and that's just going to assure Panzer's position.
Indeed, and here goes Thomas Harvey, slipstreaming Dan Brewer. He'll pull out, go for the DRS. Brewer may even pit. He does, so Dan Brewer does come into the pit lane now. Puts on the anchors, gets it down to below the 60. I'm not sure if it's 60 miles per hour or 60 kilometers per hour. That's
I believe it's
described.
kilometers.
Yeah, it looks like it because he was going 49 miles per hour. So yeah, that would be right. Makes his last box and stays on hard tyres. That will be a brand new set of hard tyres, of course. He won't have kept the same tyres on. Jack Mayer comes in behind him. And the race continues. Leon Bock has stayed out once again. He was one of the drivers who stayed out much later than the others on soft tyres earlier on. I wonder if he'll try to stay out much later than the others in this stint and go for another set of softs, or at least mediums. If he does go for the mediums, he'd have used every single tyre compound, which is quite rare. Well, all of the dry tyre compounds anyway. There are no wets inside today, thank goodness, after that super lights race. But Leon, of course, could change his strategy here, could decide that actually it's better to play it safe and, you know, come in for another set of hards like the others are doing. Or he could have fun leading this race for a bit. It's
I mean, sorry, Ken, just visually, those tyres don't look as bad as the softs were when we came in earlier on the softs. And yes, staying out another lap. Obviously, no, he is coming in. Oh, my apologies. No, he was just quite far over to the right of the track when he was when I said so. But I mean, visually, those tyres don't look so bad. But you know, I'm not the one behind the wheel, so Bok does come in. I assume that'll be for a set of the hard compound then. Unless, I don't know, maybe Bok, trying something different, comes into his pit box, locks up the brakes just to be sure, comes in, new set of hard rubber on, and out he goes. But yeah, I mean, looking at them, of course, you know, I can't judge, I'm not driving the car, but looking at it, as he just comes out in front of his brother Yannick, those tyres didn't look too bad visually. I mean, the softs that he was on at the start of the race, they looked, you know, pretty done when he came in. You know, lots of wear, lots of graining, you know, lots of pickup. But those hards, they looked like they had a few more laps left in them to me. But you know, who am I to judge? So he comes in for the hards. Maybe he could have stayed out and gone on the mediums, but again, he's the one who knows what he's doing here with the strategy. So I'll let him make the call.
From the onboard, I could see a little bit of graining, but you're right, it didn't look as bad as the tyres did earlier on. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's safe if everyone else is doing something and you're in a good position, then if you do that same thing, chances are you're not going to lose any positions. I mean, yeah, you're not going to gain any either, but he was already so far behind the top three that really fourth place has to be Leon Bok's target at this point in the race. And going longer and going onto a soft set may be a big risk, actually, because it would mean other drivers would get the chance to jump you, and then you'd have to actually make up places on track, which is doable, but still extremely difficult, especially if he wants to get back to where he was. Leon is ahead of his teammate Yannick, not just in track, but in net position as well. Yannick is yet to make his final pit stop of the day. Only 18 laps to go, but that's still enough that I expect Yannick will be coming in. Blue flags there for Flo Guyot, just behind this bunch. Tomasz Voch side by side now with Janis Vorburn. Vorburn P6. And that is a fight that may be for the top 5 positions towards the end of this race, when Yannick Bock actually makes his position. Janis Vorburn, I'd say one of the lesser talked about really good drivers in this league, because he never really seems to do anything spectacular, but he is very, very quick, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of Janis Vorburn's driving in the future. He actually hasn't done that well in this league so far. He finished 9th.
But anyway, back to the action. Jake Dennehan currently in P15, chasing down Philip Pushka for that P14 place. These guys, of course, within inside the points for the time being, as they head through into this tight section here. Very awkward right-hander. There is Thomas Harvey on Robin Panzer for P2. Harvey goes back up to P2.
He's been trying to do that since before the first stop. Now he gets it. Oh, sorry, but just after the first stop. Now he gets him, and Panzer will get the DRS. Might try to come back to him on the exit. He's got a long stretch of straight, but will it be long enough? I don't think so. Here comes the braking zone. Now, can he stick with him in the castle section? Will he still be close enough to fight back by the time they get back to the start-finish straight? That is the move for second place. Thomas Harvey, of course, qualified ahead of Robin Panzer, and they ran in this order earlier on in the race. Panzer was able to keep up with him then, and then, of course, Harvey jumped him. Panzer jumped him in the pit stages, and it all swung in his direction. Harvey has now wrestled it back, and he took the fastest lap of the race in the process as well, with the DRS and slipstream. Thomas Harvey flying at this point in time, and Panzer has 16 laps to get it back. Meanwhile, Winnick is extending his advantage. He's still not, I mean, it's felt like Winnick has dominated this race, although realistically, he hasn't been that far up the road, although he's been just far enough up the road not to have to worry about these 2 cars behind him. He's been doing just enough, and that's all you've got to do in racing. You could win by a fraction of a second, but it still counts, and you still get the same number of points. Panzer now will have the DRS open. He'll be about 0.8 of a second back. You can gain that in a straight line, depending on what your setup is and how it lines up against your opponents. But yeah, Panzer's still going to be about 0.6 of a second back by the time they get to turn 1. Here's Yanis Vulban now lining up Yannick Bock, who's yet to stop for the last time. Yanis goes up the inside of Yannick. That's a confusing one. And the move is made for 5th position. So Yanis is now properly in the top 5.
Yeah, great stuff there for Yanis. So looking for his first top 5 of this season. Obviously, we're not supposed to take sides as a commentary team, but it would be great to see him, getting a really good result for the results. I'm honestly surprised that the results haven't actually been too strong for Yanis, because every race he seems to be doing really, really well. But guess not, apparently. Either I've just can't remember things correctly, or he just gets bad luck, it would seem. But up to P5 he moves. That's great. And just to kind of extend on what you said, Caitlin. At the end of the day, it's not how you do it. It's not by how much you do it. It's not if it's close, if you dominated. All that matters in motorsport at the end of the day is where you are on track when you cross the line at the end of the race. It doesn't matter how big the gap is. If you've had an amazing comeback drive, you've just kind of sat there doing the absolute minimum. As long as you're in first place, that is all that matters, and that's what Mionek's doing right now. I'm sure that there is a lot more pace in that car, but I think he's just sitting comfortably, sitting happy, not pushing, not worrying about making a mistake. Harvey is nearly 4 seconds back now. There is no point pushing, overdoing the rubber, overdoing yourself and finding the wall or the exit road or something like that and throwing away a win. Mionek's just taking it very chill, very easy. Just lap 37 of 51. Still, got about 14 laps left. So, plenty of time to just, get the car home, bring the tyres in. Don't worry about anything and just, keep it on the down low. Of course, he's still going to be driving fast because, if he was really taking it easy, then Harvey would have flown by him in a few corners. But he's not pushing. I don't think so anyway. I mean, I may be wrong. But, it seems to me, from what I've seen on track of Mionek today, that he's just very comfortable, very calm and very collected.
Thomas Harvey has broken clear of the DRS of Robin Panzer and appears to be starting to reel in Winnick. Now, don't panic, it's still a long, I say a long way off, it's about 2.5 seconds, maybe a little over that, although he is faster, it seems. Now, whether that's because Winnick has been taking it easy and he could pick up the pace when he sees that Harvey's getting close, we don't know yet. That sometimes happens. But this is not quite over yet, actually. Now, the good thing about the pit stops being quite straightforward today, the pit strategy, is that it sets us up for a straightforward finish. And that doesn't sound great, but actually, after all of the unpredictability we've had in the first few rounds of the championship, it's kind of a nice change to see this style of race. It's like a classic Grand Prix, where you get one or two alternate strategies. Yannick Bock may still go for one to try to get himself into the top 10. But aside from that, up front, for example, it's been very similar. They've almost pitted on exactly the same lap. And with Harvey now seemingly beginning to reel in Winnick, we may still have a good finish in our hands, just one that we can actually see coming for once.
Yeah. Here we go then, to the inside, Thomas Bach. Very nice move on Brewer, Yannick Bock, apologies. So nice stuff there, up the inside, easy as you like. Stepkovsky as well, getting overtaken there by Brewer, it would seem. It may be, that Yannick's trying to go for a one-stopper because he's running long into this race. Not pushing the car either, so maybe Yannick Bock trying to go on a one-stopper. That might just be a theory, but who knows, we'll have to wait and see.
Giordano Valeriano has just retired from this race. I cut to him as he was slowing and didn't have a front wing. So Valeriano becomes another retirement. It looks as if he was getting out the way of our race leader, Maciej Winnick, and shunted into the barriers as he did so. And it's a good thing that our race leader was wise to that, because sometimes drivers can follow each other off the road in sympathy. And Maciej saw it coming and was able to avoid the accident as it happened. Still 20 cars remaining in this race now, the top 15 of which will score points. The gap for the lead is 3 seconds, Harvey appears to be about 0.3 of a second faster than Winnick per lap, which of course will not give him the win if it continues like this. And actually, Winnick gained quite a lot in that last sector there, so it's still going to require a mistake or something from race leader Maciej Winnick. Matthias Moos, meanwhile, will have a bit of an easier time against Yannick Bock, I feel. Yannick, yeah, I suggest he may be going for a one-stop. I think he still is. He was pretty late to stop that first time, and of course, he was the only, or one of the only drivers to start on the medium compound tyre. He's on the full hard now as Walk ahead of him laps a back marker, and Yannick doesn't have to worry about that driver either. That's Jan Dragoon in the green stripes, who is a lap down. They're both going to get past him relatively quickly, I feel. There we go. So Yannick goes through and Matthias Moos follows him. But I can't imagine that Yannick, as brilliant a driver as he is, has the tyres to hold off the also very good Matthias Moos behind him.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. Yeah, it would be a big ask. I mean, of course, there's only so much your ability as a driver can do before you've got to take into account stuff like tyre wear and, strategy and where you are on the racetrack as well. Sometimes if you get pushed out, if you're off the racing line, suddenly you've not got a lot of grip. It's just, how racing works. At that bit, I mean, Yannick Bock, he's really, really committed through the castle section, isn't he? I mean, even if he's trying to take care of the tyres, he is absolutely on it coming through the castle section. Obviously feels like it's a place he can make up a lot of time. Yeah, to be fair, it is a place where you can really make or break your lap there if you get it right or wrong, or just find those extra few kilometers an hour through the tight and twisty bits. Coming onto the straight though, and well, look how close Matthias Moos is already to Yannick Bock with the DRS. I hate to break it to any Bock fans out there, any Evolution fans out there, but well, this is going to be quite easy for Matthias with the DRS. Bock already trying to break the toe, running against the wall, much like you would in real life if you were being pedantic about the whole thing. And actually, Moos, he's not actually going for the move. He's stayed out of the slipstream. So I mean, the first thought that comes to mind there is he's just trying to keep his heating. Maybe he's overheating the car, but maybe he's just happy following Bock. Maybe he's just happy sitting there following Bock because Bock's got enough pace. He is closing up to Bock in front. So I don't know, but Matthias Moos not going for the move there that I thought was done by the time they came out of the final corner.
Williams has just passed Bickers on the straight. That's P11 there, going the way of Matthew Williams. And there you see the pair of them on the exit of turn 1, heading through turn 2 and towards the second DRS zone of the lap. And this is what the second DRS zone offers, a chance to retaliate if someone gets past you in that first straight. Williams holds the inside line and Bickers has nowhere to go there. Doesn't run down the escape road on the outside and keeps it under control. The gap for the lead once again less than 3 seconds, but there's not enough time left. There's only 11 laps to go from here. So, I mean, if Winnick's tyres wore or something like that, then Harvey may have a chance, but right now it's looking as if Winnick has just got to control this race. That's why Winnick's felt so dominant today. It's not because he's necessarily been miles quicker than anyone else, because he hasn't been. It's just that he hasn't really felt threatened, He's been just far enough ahead that no one has actually been able to get a good view of him for the majority of the race, as Yannick there laps a back marker. Matthias Moos will follow him through, and said back marker comes into the pits. That was Eros Masculi in the Musto car. Musto still yet to score a point in this race, and unfortunately, of course, Giordano Valeriano is already out, and Eros Masculi is now second to last and a lap down. There is Lewis Bickers getting back at Matthew Williams up the inside. P11 now for Lewis Bickers. Daniel Brewer inside the top 10 in the other VBM Esports car. But VBM Esports still the team leading the team's championship. Nowhere near as successful as they have been at some previous rounds. Remember, they got both of their cars on the podium last time out, Russ.
Yeah, they did. So hopefully they'll be looking to follow that up. But I mean, yeah, that doesn't look ideal so far, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. There is Daniel Brewer in the VBM car, currently P9 with 10 laps to go left on the board. Ooh, who was that into the wall? Was that Stepkowski? I think actually running into the wall in the background. I'm not sure if he hit it hard, but I did think he ran into the wall just at the back of the shot. It looked like it anyway. I can't see that the car is crabbing down the straight, so suspension looks okay, but I guess if he comes into the pits at the end of the lap, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Matthias Moose, meanwhile, chasing down Yannick Bock still. Maybe he'll go for the move this time by. Now he is following in the slipstream. Now he does have the DRS yet again. All the way to the inside wall, and now he is going to go for the move to the inside on the brakes. Well, side by side, Matthias Moose just slightly late, a bit of a slide to turn and almost into the wall on the exit. But a nice move there from Matthias Moose to take P7 from Yannick Bock. Is Bock able to fight back with the DRS? I don't think so, no. Look at the launch. Wow, just look at that Moose already with those fresh tyres. The launch that he gets out the corner. Yes, Bock gets the DRS, but the launch just, it's not enough to have just the DRS. The launch on that fresh rubber just leaving that number 15 in the dust.
And as much as it looks as if Yannick Bock is struggling right now, who's to say that he wouldn't be much further down if he'd come in for that second stop? I'm not entirely sure where he would have been actually, because having started on a different tyre compound to most of the drivers around him, and having driven a very different race, it's actually unclear what his net position would have been. But it does seem pretty certain right now that he's going to the end of the race, and that every position you see here is a position for real honours. Yannick Bock up 21 places from his starting position. We knew he'd have a decent race, a different charge through the field from where he was, providing he survived the first few laps. This is about what I expected from Yannick. I'm not gonna lie, but there's still a lot of time for things to change, because Brewer and Stepkowski both aren't that far behind him. Brewer, of course, on his tail now. Stepkowski about 5 and a bit seconds back. He may still have time to lose before Stepkowski catches him. Here comes Dan Brewer now to the inside. Leaves it later. Oh, that was a close one.
Yeah, a bit of a squeeze there from Yannick Bock. That could have been interesting to say the least, but I'm sure that Daniel Brewer with the DRS out here will get the move that he needs to do. And, well, there you are, coming with the DRS. Surely to the inside now. Yes, to the inside now. On the brakes, as long as they don't come together. Masculi, their new fastest lap. Oh, Bock almost shoving Bock into the wall in response. Oh, a little bit naughty between those two, but Daniel Brewer gets past and there is no actual contact between, so it's all fine in my book.
Now here's an interesting statistic. At every round of this championship so far, the driver who's taken the fastest lap has finished outside of the top 15. So no one has scored a point for fastest lap yet, which is intriguing. I think it's probably because every time someone realizes that they've got nothing more to fight for as far as points are concerned, they think, well, I can't gain any points today, but I mean, I can take it off other people, and they go and do it for fun. And it looks as if Aris Masculi is now doing exactly that. Musto still yet to score a single point in this championship, and they won't score a point even if they do get fastest lap today, because you need to finish in the top 15. But that would leave us with the very bizarre situation of having a point available at all 5 of the first 5 rounds that just hasn't been claimed at all.
Well, it's the little things in life, I suppose, isn't it? Masculi there, fastest lap of the race. I mean, there's still time for someone else to come and take it away from him, but yeah, assuming that he stays where he is and no one else comes in, being taken by anybody. Could those 5 points decide the championship? I mean, probably not, but again, the championship last year decided on the last lap. It was, I think, 3 or 4 points in it. Those 5 points, could have made it swing the other way. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see if that, changes things in the futures. But for now, Aris Masculi can at least go home knowing that he has the fastest lap for the time being, even if he is outside of the points-paying positions.
It's a good point, actually. I was about to say, no, don't be silly, but then I was like, actually, I mean, If we go back at the
Yeah.
end of this season and look back through the results and see who had the second fastest lap at some of these rounds, and then we realised that it genuinely did change the result of the championship, can you imagine how much of a shock that would be? I mean, honestly, when you get championships that are that close, people always look back through the season and say, you know, this is the point where the driver lost the championship, and they point to one specific incident, like, you know, Felipe Massa, Singapore 2008 or whatever, completely forgetting that there were other races where he could have finished second and finished third or whatever, or, you know, Lewis Hamilton 2016 when he had his Malaysia blowout, he also had poor qualifying result. In fact, here at Baku in that year, he crashed in qualifying. And yeah, without any of those, who's to say he wouldn't have beaten Nico Rosberg? So it's racing has a lot of butterfly effect to it, and as much as it could swing in that direction, you know, cost someone a championship through having points taken away from them, it could also swing straight back in the other direction and you know, hand you a championship that your opponent would have taken with just a little bit more luck. So yeah, it matters. There's a reason, there's a point for it.
I mean, you say that Felipe Massa cost him the championship, but you do remember that Felipe Massa was also F1 World Champion for a whole 30 seconds. As
He was
Jake
never crowned, I'm afraid.
as Jake Dennehan goes to the inside of Philip Pushka, gets the move done very, very easily with the DRS to the inside, even before the braking zone. That was yeah, nice and calm and collected for the Scuderia Basilia driver. But yeah, I mean, it is an interesting point. I mean, you know, those 5 points. I mean, 5 points on paper, it doesn't seem like much when you're looking at it on a race-to-race basis. I mean, it's, you know, a single point in the race. You know, 5 points over the season doesn't sound much. But last year, the championship was decided on the final lap. You know, sometimes, you know, you just get crazy seasons where it just goes down to the wire. You know, those 5 points, as you said, Kaylin, though, you know, later in the season, someone, you know, might be needing 5 points to, you know, take the lead in the championship. Those 5 points right there, they could have been crucial. And you know, if you've not picked them up, you know, that's on you, I'm afraid. You know, 5 points going to waste. That's a big one. Now that's Masciuli in the wall, going straight on.
Actually, I think he's just pulled up there. I'm looking back at the replay to see, and it doesn't appear he's had an accident or anything. He's just pulled off. Now, I was talking about how he was on course for fastest lap. He's now retired from this race, yeah. But he wasn't on course for any points. Now, of course, that's absolutely confirmed. He won't be scoring any points, whatever his issue is. 19 drivers remaining in the race now. Jake Dennehan would be on for his first Super League points if it stays like this. Pretty good showing from the Scuderia Basilia driver on his GPVWC Super League debut.
Yeah, that would be great for Jake Dennehan. Of course, though, if anyone, well, I'm just looking at the gaps now. I don't think anyone can make a safe stop in that top 15, maybe bar Philip Pushka. So Philip, if you're listening along, maybe try and box for a fastest lap. You might be able to walk over 2 points instead of 1. Who knows?
So, yeah, he has got quite a gap to Chris Shepherd, hasn't he? Don't think it's quite enough time for a stop, at least not a safe one. But anyway, we're on lap 47 of 51 now, heading towards the finish of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And hopefully no one's really put off by the fact that this hasn't been a chaotic, crazy, you know, worldy of an Azerbaijan Grand Prix like the kind we sometimes see in reality and sometimes see in other GPWC years and leagues, because this has still been an intriguing race. I mean, it's my opinion that there's never really such thing as a dull Grand Prix. You just need to know where to look. In this race, for example, you do have stories. You have the momentum for Maciej Winnick, the momentum that he suddenly has, which he's never had before, and the interest about what he's going to do with that in future races. Thomas Harvey coming so close yet so far again. Robin Panzer going well. Dan Brewer struggling slightly compared to his normal results. And here is actually Filip Pushkin out on the back of Jake Dennehan. This is for 2 points. This is to convert his single point into 2 points. And backs out of it there. Jake Dennehan driving very well on his GPVWC Super League debut. Usually does FS1 and won sprint race, well, the sprint race in FS1 the other day. So obviously likes this track and is settling in with this car nicely. He's done Super League Lights, or Super Lights before, sorry, a couple of times, with which he'd been able to try out this car. And now he is piloting it in Super League for the very first time. Filip Pushkin, very much not his first time. He is a champion of the past, and his return hasn't been hugely successful so far, but a point would go down very, very well for him if he is to finish where he is right now. Matthias Moos as well. Good race from him. Still not that far back from Tomasz Włoch, as we now on lap 48, Russ.
Indeed, coming into the final laps of this race. And may I just say, Jake Dennehan, great job. He's been doing really, really well out there. It is a big jump into the Super League straight from FS1. Yeah, as you said, he's not a lot of time in the car. He's done, in my opinion, I think he's done a great job. So well done to Jake Dennehan. But looking up as well, as you said, it's the main story of the race for me has just been Milnek being in a class of his own. Again, the gap, it's not a dominant gap, but it's a big enough gap. And, if he keeps it, that would, be a massive boost for him confidence-wise, as Pushka and Dennehan still going at it, but nothing comes out of it yet for Filip Pushka coming into the second corner. Maybe he'll be trying to have a look. No, can't quite get the drive at the corner, as he's also advertising a drive in the Super League, it would seem, for Stax Racing. But as they come into this tight section, it looks like he may be having to settle for 15th. But there's still time left to have a move on Jake Dennehan. But as I said, Dennehan has been doing a wonderful job today. And, I think he deserves all credit.
Indeed, Super League debut can't be difficult at the best, can't be easy at the best of times. But here at Azerbaijan, to finish this would be quite an achievement. It's a long race, don't forget. The Super Lights race the other day was an hour and 21 minutes, although this, of course, even more laps. And yes, okay, it's been dry conditions and there have been way fewer pit stops today, so it's probably going to be about the same time. But if you've ever tried keeping your concentration on one thing for that long, I mean, it's 51 times around the same course, and you've got to keep your concentration because there's no margin for error here. Filip Pushkin about to try to line up a move on Jake Dennehan, but he's had a little twitch out of that final turn there and may struggle with the momentum onto the straight. David Yunt now with the fastest lap, and once again that's a driver outside of the top 15. So if this race finishes like this, which it might well, then there will be no points awarded for fastest lap. It makes me start to wonder whether we're going to get points awarded for fastest lap this season, or whether drivers who have no chances of points are gonna snatch it off them every single time. It's honestly a possibility, because when drivers know that they're not going to score points, there's really nothing else that they have to lose. So, they come in, put on some fresh soft tires, go out, get themselves some slipstream from their teammate or from another car on a different lap, and they go through to set a worldie like what we just saw from David Yunt there. Penultimate lap of the race now for Maciej Winnick. Leon Buck has been really catching Robin Panzer, and for that matter, Robin Panzer has been really dropping back. This is interesting. Robin, has he had a spin somewhere? Because I swear he wasn't anywhere near that far. Yeah,
that's a big gap. That's a mistake, surely, to drop that amount of gap, because that's a long way back.
It was much closer a couple of laps ago when I looked at him.
Yeah, something's gone on there, I think, for Robin Panzer, and now he's under pressure maybe from Leon Bock.
He's really slow at this point in the race. He has been ever since Harvey got past him. I noticed that Harvey was pulling away from him really quickly, but I didn't think it was this quickly. Yeah, I mean, Panzer's lap times have been relatively consistent. It doesn't look as if he's had a spin, but Leon Buck's lap times have been a second or two quicker every time for basically this entire stint now. So this is honestly an opportunity here for Leon Buck. And with his teammate having had to serve a grid penalty, a podium would put a smile on quite a few faces at Evolution Motorsports. I don't know how the brotherly relationship is there actually, whether this is going to trigger a friendly, proud for you sort of response, or whether it's going to trigger rivalry and jokes. It really, maybe a bit of both, I don't know, we'll have to see. But Leon really has a chance here, has the DRS open as they head on to the final lap of the race. And yes, okay, this race hasn't been particularly exciting for first place, but look at the battle for the podium. And Panzer moves over late to defend, and Buck's going to lock up and go straight on, Lewis Hamilton style. Robin Panzer gets third place back on the switchback. There is another DRS zone here. And Buck opens the DRS once again. He'll be dragging himself up behind Robin Panzer, and once again Panzer defends. To the outside goes Leon. Oh, they bang wheels slightly. This is proper last lap racing here at GPVWC Super League. You see Leon on the left, on his right. He'll have the inside. Gets over the curve, has to give up. So Robin Panzer is able to keep the position, and I think it's going to be a drag race to the line between those two, because then there are no real overtaking opportunities until you reach that final straight, which we are now approaching. Maciej Winnick here has led pretty much the entirety of the race. He hasn't led the entirety of it, but only because of the pit stop stages. In terms of the net order, he has been in control the whole way. And the results will only say that he won it by 3 seconds, but realistically it feels like he won it by a lot more. Maciej Winnick comes up to the line, and he will take the checkered flag for not only his second win in Super League, but his second win back-to-back. Thomas Harvey will be second, and Robin Panzer and Leon Buck are going to go side by side to the line. Here is that drag race that I was talking about.
It's got to be Buck, surely.
It might be. Here's the DRS to the left, and he gets it. Valtteri Bottas style, yes! So Leon Buck does take third place on the line, gets a podium for Evolution Motorsports, takes it away from Robin Panzer, which is going to be gutting for him, but a great drive from Leon Buck there to snatch it away from Robin at the last moment. Panzer is fourth, then it's Volburn, Voch, Moose, Brewer, Buck, that is the other Buck, Yannick behind Leon, then Stepkowski, Bickers, Williams, Mayer, Denahan and Pushke. With the points. Jake Denahan there scoring points in his GPVWC debut. But Maciej Winnick, what a drive! Back-to-back victories in GPVWC.
Wow, great drive there by Winnick. Just in a class of his own today. I mean, he was just out the front living his best life. Matthew Williams maybe getting pipped to the line here by Jack Mayer. No, just gets it. There was Winnick from Harvey, from Buck in P3. Robin Panzer just missing out on the line after what I think was an inspired drive as well.
And Ross, that was going to be Panzer's first podium in GPVWC.
Oh, no.
Damn it.
Oh,
well, here's Denahan and Pushka, which is going to be close, but Denahan does hold on to P14. Yeah, Robin Panzer missing out on his first ever Super League podium, or what would have been, to Leon Buck, who has finished on the podium before, is still looking for his first elusive race victory. But Leon did deserve it there. He won it fair and square.
Oh, absolutely. Great stuff from Leon Buck there. And there you can see the final order. As we said, Munich, Harvey and Buck, your top three. Robin Panzer just missing out on his first podium. Yannis Volburn breaking into the top 5 for the first time in his Super League career with Thomas Fack in P6. Matthias Moose came home in P7. Daniel Brewer's P8. Yannick Bock, a massive comeback drive up to P9 after that penalty. And then Daniel Stepkowski managed to hold on to round out the top 10. And then moving further on, we've got Lewis Bickers in P11s with the MDR boys, Matthew Williams and Jack Mayer following suite, with Jake Denahan in P14, Philip Pushka in P15, and Shepard, Dragoon, Florian Geyer and David Yunt the last of your finishers. And we've got Masculi, who DNF'd in P20 after pulling to the side. And you've got a whole host of non-finishers. You've got Valeriano, Jan Grankvist, Michi Hoyer after that big accident, Germano Zapala, Jeffrey Fournier, David Fiduk, Stefan Rolt, Alessandro Quinte, and Max Hamalenko after that start line crashed as well. So a lot of DNFs here, a big race of high attrition here in Baku. But it is Matej Miliek who takes the victory. And well, we talk about high attrition. Next time it's Monaco.
Indeed, indeed. Right, so that is the end of this particular race. I believe we're going to get some interviews in a minute, although no one has jumped into the interview room just yet. Well, let me check how long this race is. 1 minute 27... 1 hour, 27 minutes and 30 seconds. So that is exactly 6 minutes longer than the Superlight race was the other day. Normally there's about 20 or 30 minutes in difference. So, sorry, I just wanted to see that from my own personal interest. And once again, the fastest lap has gone the way of David Yun, who did not finish within the top 15. I believe it was Yun who had the fastest lap last time out as well. Let me double check that quickly. But yeah, it was. So David's taken his second fastest lap in a row, and once again prevented any points from being given out in that particular category. Previously in the championship, Yannis Vorburn had a fastest lap, Liam Duval had a fastest lap, and Alessandro Quinte had a fastest lap. And there you see donuts for Maciej Wynek, who has taken another victory here in GPVWC Super League in the number 96 Edge Esports car, the former Formula Challenge champion. And we can now speak to our second place finisher, Thomas Harvey. Let me drag him into the room. Thomas, you're on the podium again. Very, very good stuff. How do you feel?
Feel very good, yeah. Knew we'd have good pace going into this, but didn't quite think had that good pace. I think in the end, I'll happily take second place. Yeah, the pace for me and match was just clear of the rest of the field, especially on the last stint. Yeah, just really showing the confidence we had on this track. Yeah, so pretty happy with P2. Maybe could have got win if I hadn't lost time through the pit stops in the first stint, but again, our pace was pretty much the same, you know, just different on different stints, so I'll happily take P2.
Do you think you might have won if you hadn't been jumped by Panzer in the pits?
Unsure. I think more than anything, it was the traffic that killed, not just Panzer. I mean, realistically, I didn't really lose much time to Panzer at all. Like, he was, if anything, came on for a little bit. It was only really the last stint where I was clear of him. So, yeah, I think I don't think there's much I could have done. You could say ifs and buts, but I would have needed like the perfect race to be with Matchy at the end. So, yeah, I'll just take.
That makes sense.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with P2, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Well, you've now had a P4, P3, and P2, so all you've got to complete that run is your perfect victory. How do you feel about Monaco?
Honestly, no idea, but I guess we'll see. Obviously, we're going to be a lot better on that pace, but it's a very different circuit. It's like we haven't been to in a while. In fact, I don't think since I've joined GPV, I don't think I've actually driven Monaco in a GPV round. So, bit of unknown territory, but should be fun, maybe. We'll see. Yeah, if I can get qualifying right, then you never know.
Well, enjoy it if you can. Russ, do you have anything to add for our second place finisher today? I believe Russ is having connection issues still. Oh, Russ.
I am here. No, it's kind of in and out. No, it's sorry about that. But yeah, well done, Thomas. If you can hear me, and yeah, great drive today. And yeah, good luck in Monaco.
Thanks. I might need it.
Congratulations. Okie dokie. Thank you, Thomas, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. We can now move on to our race winner for the second time in a row, Maciej Wynek. Maciej, are you there?
Yeah.
Great stuff. You are on fire right now, on top form. That's your second victory in Super League and your second victory in a row. What's suddenly come good for you?
I mean, I don't know, but since Australia, I've got a new wheel, direct drive, so maybe it's that.
It'll help. How different does it feel from your old wheel?
My previous was Trustmaster T300 RS. So the difference is there, I must say. I don't know if I can say I'm quicker on raw pace, but somehow it helps.
Today was an extremely strong race for you. It all started in qualifying. You were 0.3 of a second faster than anyone else. I didn't think that was going to happen at this circuit, did you?
Me neither. I thought others would be a bit closer, but in my group that I practice, I was also the fastest in quali trim. But yeah, I was a bit surprised that the gap was that big to second place.
And then were you ever feeling under pressure in the race?
Nearly throughout the whole race, because first stint, okay, it was a bit easier, let's say. Thomas was attacking me, so it was all good. From second stint, when I saw Robin is behind, I didn't know what will be his pace, so I was not sure if I can save a bit or do I need to push a bit more. But overall, I managed to create a 4 or 5 second gap before Robin pitted for his final stop. And then after our last pit stops, Robin was again 2 seconds behind me, and it was the same case, but this time he was a bit slower, and when he got passed by Thomas, then again it was same story to try and know what Thomas does and should I push more or can I save a bit. And yeah, overall I think I made good decisions, and yeah, I'm quite happy that I managed to win second time in a row.
Can you keep up your winning form at Monaco?
I hope so. I like street circuits. Monaco is one of my favorites, so I hope.
That would be quite a hat trick. Russ, do you have anything to add to our Grand Prix winner?
Just a question, really. Of course, first of all, congratulations for a brilliant win, but how hard were you pushing out there? Because it seemed to me that, you were taking it quite easy.
Outside of castle section, where I try to be okay, like not too careful, not pushing too much. But outside that, yeah, I was trying a bit to push, not to be like fully calmly, but yeah, trying my best to be a bit quicker without too much of tire wear and too much of push to pass use.
Oh, there you are. Well, thank you very much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maciej, and we'll speak to you next time. Okie dokie, so that was our Grand Prix winner, Maciej Winnick, and that's all we've got time for today. So thank you all very much for joining us and joining me. I've been your commentator, Caitlin Penny. Alongside me has been Ross McIntyre, and the broadcast director was Szymon Frelik. Thank you very much, Szymon, for getting this all set up. I know you're not the regular Super League broadcaster, so it's fantastic that you've managed to jump in for us. Anyway, like I said, that's all we've got time for, but in 2 weeks' time, we will be at Monaco. And next week, of course, we will also be at Monaco, but for the junior categories, the Formula Sprint 2 and the Formula Sprint 1. See you then.